Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Why is this in the Bible? Psalm 137. Correct or incorrect? Either way, it is horrifying. Is there anything in the fine print that we are missing? So, taken from the reading in Psalm 137, by the rivers of Babylon, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion, ultimately ending. We hung our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof, for there they carried us away captive, required of us a song. And they that wasted us required us a mirth, saying, sing us one of those songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in that day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. Raise it means not to raise it up, but to tear it down to the ground, down to the foundation. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. This psalm means to pray evil against their enemies. One could say, that's it. I cannot believe in the Old Testament God. There's too much cruelty. Let me just go to the New Testament. Or better still, just the words that Jesus says, the red letter Bible. Or perhaps more suitably, just give me the Sermon on the Mount. That's all I need. Okay, surely I jest. Yes, so let's put on our Sherlock Holmes hat and look firstly at the time period of this verse. So here is where the story begins, around 600 years before the Messiah was born in Bethlehem. It was Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar built a magnificent city, often described as a glorious and legendary capital. He undertook massive construction projects, including fortification and a great moat, and an outer defence wall and canals. And this is where he paved the ceremonial procession way with limestone. A key feature was the Ishtar Gate, dedicated to the goddess Ishtar. Yes, the pagan version of Easter. She was adorned with blue glazed bricks and images of bulls and dragons, making it a centre of power, culture and intellectual life during his reign. The gate's reconstruction is a famous archaeological feat, with parts of the original now housed in the Pergamon Museum, Berlin. And of course the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar II, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The scene is set by Nebuchadnezzar to take siege of Jerusalem. It was Nebuchadnezzar's final campaign against Judah. Young Daniel joined Nebuchadnezzar's service around 605 BC as part of a conquest of Jerusalem during the first Babylonian deportation of Jews from Jerusalem. He was taken as a youth to Babylon to be trained for the service of the king's court. The Neo-Babylonian Empire is in red. Also notice the neighbouring nation, Media and Persia, positioned next in the wings. The deportations were a strategic response to Judah's rebellion against Babylon rule. The initial deportation followed King Jehoiakim's alliance with Egypt against Babylon in 597 BCE after the siege of Jerusalem, and they seemed also selective, taking thousands of Jews, including King Jehoiakim, and many leaders, craftsmen and soldiers were taken to Babylon. The route his army played was moving down south from Babylon, heading along the Great Trunk Road, with a significant force advancing on Jerusalem from the north. And after dividing Babylon's forces, one contingent of the army advanced from the north to lay siege on Jerusalem, surrounding the city. While reading this psalm, you can imagine the captives shoved and stumbling along, finally to sit when they reach a Babylonian river. There, the captors sit back and relax, but the captives sit down and mourn. This period of history, known as the Babylon captivity or exile, involved the conquest of the kingdom of Judah by King Nebuchadnezzar II. This is the sanitized version. What happened was brutal. They had been torn from their homes, their infants ripped from their arms. They had watched in horror as their homes were torched. These exiled Jews were forced to live in Babylon. The siege lasted about 18 to 30 months, ending in the 11th year of King Zedekiah's reign. So, Psalm 137 is a sad dirge, a lament for the dead, like a funeral march. This song was chanted mournfully. It recorded the Israelites lamenting in exile, adding to further humiliation and frustration to a defeated people. After that devastating trauma, their captives had the audacity to provoke and insult them by scornfully asking them to sing a song of Zion. What a mockery they had to endure. Although the Israelites were so certain they would never again sing, that they left their harps hanging in the willow branches, a remnant that was restored to their own land. The psalmist recalls both the disgraces of the Edomites who looted Jerusalem and the Babylonians who destroyed their capital city. The Edomites are from the line of Esau. In fact, that makes them cousins of the Jews. This final destruction was the more devastating siege in 587 to 586 BCE, leading to the destruction of the city of Solomon's temple. Nebuchadnezzar's forces tore down the city walls, looted the treasures, and deported even more people. Happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. This cry for revenge desired the destruction of their enemies. Then in verse 9, the psalmist adds further detail to the cry for revenge, claiming, "Happy is the one who kills the infants of their enemies." The desire is graphically stated, but it is simply a call for the destruction of the entire nation. That would be the Edomites. The nation that had enslaved the Jews killed their babies and destroyed their city. The destruction of Babylon was foretold in Isaiah 13:16. If we keep in mind that the Psalms are songs that express intense emotions, the writer did not intend to go out and kill babies, rather he desired justice, which required the death of his enemies. But here we're talking about a nation, the Edomites, the descendants of Esau. And here is the fine print. The Bible states to destroy Edom in the book of Obadiah. That contains the oracle of the judgment of Edom for its action against Judah. It was written about 590 BCE. It prophesies that Edom would be thoroughly destroyed and despised for its role in looting Jerusalem and handing over its fugitives. One of the reasons they were happy to help the Babylonians because they lived in a land of ancient Edom. It's now located south of Jordan in the region of Idumea, which is part of modern-day Israel. It would mean that they could claim the land and expand their territory. At first glance, what did Jesus do? The only Bible Jesus knew was the Old Testament. These scrolls were protected in the temple by priests and the Levites. And Jesus affirmed the book of Daniel in Matthew 24:15, announcing prophecy yet to be written in Revelation 13. The Bible describes priests and Levites guarding the temple and its contents in Numbers 18:6 and 7, 1 Chronicles 9:17 to 34, Deuteronomy 31:9, and Malachi 2:7. The New Testament writings by eyewitnesses of the apostles and the book of Revelation states emphatically that nothing should be added or taken away from this book. Why? There would be no one to protect the final words within the gospel of Jesus Christ. Romans 12:17 to 19 commands, "Do not repay evil for evil, so be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. As far as it depends on you, live in peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord." So Psalm 137 is not a selfish prayer for personal revenge, a plea for God to intervene in the affairs of men, to keep his covenant and right all wrongs. This significantly impacted Jewish history and culture, ultimately ending when Cyrus the Great allowed them to return to their homeland in 538 BCE.